I'm working on Yupo. I'm watercolor on Yupo, which is a printmaker's paper. And it's been embraced by some watercolorists. I'm one of them because of its spontaneous effect. You can see it right off the hop, how everything, when the surface has been wet, it'll flow a lot more than it would on conventional watercolor paper. It's very hard surface. There's no tooth to it, as we say. But I love this stuff because it just suits the way I most prefer to work, which is with a bit of an underpainting that can be developed later on. So you can go into this paper again when it's dry, but this is what the underpainting stage, and this is the part I really like the most. And sometimes, you know, there are times when it will just turn out to be a completely different subject to what I initially intended. I do have my sketchbook at hand as a reference, and I would have taken a photo of this area. It's up here in the Interlake at Camp Morton at some point in time. But I do like to work from a simple black and white sketch to establish my values. This could change completely, depending on what happens as I move along. And I'm just gonna layer a little onto it now. Stronger color, again referring always to my value sketch. Balance these little bushes on the right hand side, one side with a few more, as also something in the foreground. Liking it so far, finding the background a little pale. So I'm going to employ the same strategy back in there, which is to readdress that with some darker values over the existing lighter value, and being somewhat mindful of my intention, at least at this point, of suggesting some of the bushes in the area. And the Interlake is just rich in all variety of trees. I always think of it, just living where I am, it's a evergreen kind of place with all kinds of other interesting bushes and trees in like the lower areas. So very varied. Some things are happening up here, which is okay. Good idea at this point to introduce some of the reflections that I do have in here, but I'm cautious because I like the way things have moved and been flowing, and I don't want to lose that quality, although I may. It doesn't seem to matter what medium you work in, or what technique or what surface you're working on. One thing about that I believe all artists experience is a sense of unpredictability. And if we can learn to accept that and enjoy it, I think things are going to get a lot better. I don't know that in a visual experience such as this that you can predict your next move until you've had something else to respond to. So whatever I'm doing now, I'm simply trying to respond to what happened earlier on. This surface, being as fluid as it is, will tend to get away on you a little bit. So I'm looking back in here and thinking I really probably, as it starts to dry somewhat, I wouldn't mind reinforcing my theme. And you can see how, especially on the edges, how it's starting to, the shapes are maintaining themselves a little better. With landscape painting, one thing that's really important, and it occurs in the planning stages, is that we employ variety. I've always maintained that the job of an artist is to entertain its audience, and if there isn't enough variety, it could lead to boredom, and that's not the task. I'm liking the yellow in there and think that more is better. I haven't used a very broad palette at this point. I've really only used 2 colors, and I think some more would be a good idea. But for now, I'll try to see if I can pop in a little more of this. Because of the dark blue, of course, it's going to turn kind of green on me, and that's not a problem. Again, here's those decisions. You know, do I need to bring some of those warmer colors up into the background a little more? I feel like it is. You have to work quite quickly with this particular surface, especially if you want to enjoy some of the random effects that it will provide. Here comes another color. Little pops of orange. And I'm soon reaching the point where I need to take a break, let it dry. This surface is very user-friendly in that it allows for the pigment to be removed later on after it's dry. That's not something that watercolor paper will do, but this surface will. So you could take this color right off of there with a clean brush and then reintroduce it with another shape or color. So it has that sense of flexibility. Splattering, always fun. In my years as an art teacher, this is my students' favorite part, because you feel like you're getting a lot of interesting things happening with, I guess, very little effort. That might be about the point where I would choose to leave this, at least at this point in the drying stage. It's still wet in the center, it's drying on the sides. Less is usually better. Knowing when to quit is every artist's challenge.